This is the American Indians, Indigenous Peoples Troops. Justice for all, the most dangerous show on media anywhere. OCO, Leslie, how are you? Halito.
Halito, Chimichukma.
So good to see your pretty face as usual.
Oh, thank you.
You gotta stop doing this to me because you know what? I got two beautiful women tonight I'm talking to, you and Cynthia Tafoya.
Yes, and two women who are creative women and actors. So this is very interesting.
Exactly. So would you give us our land acknowledgement, please?
Yes. Let's pause for a moment to acknowledge the traditional stewards of the lands that we reside on, especially their ancestors, descendants, and all Indigenous people who live now and have ever lived on this land we call Turtle Island and beyond. But more than acknowledgement, let's honor and support our existing Indigenous communities by helping them continue their land-based practices, traditions, and way of life, by dispelling false narratives about their history and people while promoting their authentic truths, helping them heal from past wrongs and offenses, and assisting them in protecting and restoring back to health the land, nature, and the water, which brings life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Amen. You're welcome.
So we have our last fireside chat for 2023.
Yeah, that's it. It is the last fireside chat before we go out on the holidays, and we'll be returning. But I actually have a little advertisement for everyone who's going to be celebrating. So I'm going to play that advertisement before we bring our guests in, and continue with our fireside chat for this evening.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do that. Okay, 1 second. Pressing too many buttons. All right, here we go. So that's right. We will be going on hiatus starting next Wednesday, returning back on January the 17th, which is a Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. live on YouTube and Facebook Live. And tomorrow we will be celebrating Hanukkah, which for some reason I thought Hanukkah was tonight. I'm so like out of sync with everything, but actually we'll be starting Hanukkah tomorrow night. It starts at sundown tomorrow night, and it lasts until December the 15th. So happy Hanukkah to all our friends and family who celebrate, and happy holidays to everyone as well.
Now, before we bring our guest in, I keep getting the same question. The intro of the fireside chat, you see this big Indian that gets up and turns around.
Mm.
You know who that is?
Who is that?
That's one of my best friends. He just walked the spirit world last year. Clyde Belcourt. He was one of the founding members of the American Indian movement.
Oh, really? Really?
that's
I'll have
Clyde.
to look at that. I have to look at that. I hope Clyde knows he's in stock footage up there in heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
All right,
I'm sorry.
Let's go ahead and bring our guests in.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Look at him. Look at him.
Hi.
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
Good. And you?
Good. You got Alan Tafoya's name up there. Where's Cynthia's name?
We couldn't probably fit in it, but that's Cynthia Tafoya. That's Alan's wife, just for our audience members. And she's also going to be speaking with us this evening. As you know, she was in our intro. Her name was in the intro along with Alan's.
Yeah.
And tonight is our fireside chat, but let's get a little background on both Alan and Cynthia for our audience members.
Alan, tell me about who you are and what you've done. Not everything, just some of it.
Well, my name is Alan Tafoya, and I'm a full-blood Jicarilla Apache from Dulce, New Mexico. I'm 60, and I've had different, careers, I guess, throughout the years. I started out first as a teacher aide for Head Start. And it was right after college, which I didn't do so great at. I got a guitar, and so that was my best friend. Like, even to this day. I mean, my wife, but I mean, like my guitar it's something that I still carry with me every day.
That's good.
And so, yeah.
Anything else?
From there, I did some work for forestry. I was with TSI. We used to cut trees and do all of that, the forest work. That was probably my favorite job, because you don't see anyone all day. You just go into the mountains, do your job, work hard, get your lunch break, and then if you finish early, you get to just chill out till the bosses say, get your stuff, time to go in. And you just go in. I mean, every day you're out in the mountains. So when I think about it, I think that was probably like one of my most enjoyable jobs, was just getting out back to the mountain, Yeah. And then after that, law enforcement came into my life. And acting was would show its face every once in a while, but finally, I think it was like in my 30s where I actually started getting involved with the film industry, and I've been in it to this day, and I'm thankful for like every opportunity and for all the people that have come into my life that have been mentors or, gave me that word that I needed right then and there, And so when I think about it now, I'm just thankful for all the people. And thank you for having us on the show. Thank you, Mr. J, and thank you, ma'am. And we're just glad to be here,
Not a problem. Somebody just made a comment. Bro, you're 60 and you look half the age. Creator's been good to you for sure.
Yes.
Hair dye and a facial every once in a while.
I'm 75. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, you look good, man. Sorry, you look good.
That's okay. Thank you, bro.
You look good.
Thank you, man. So let me talk to the beautiful lady that's sitting beside you.
By all means.
Cynthia, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for including me tonight.
We wouldn't do it without you.
Oh, Jay, you're too kind.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, but before I do, I want to brag on my husband a little bit, who's very modest. Aside from his humble beginnings, Alan has been in many amazing films and probably is best known for being the deadliest warrior from Spike TV in Apaches versus Gladiators, which he gets recognized all over the world. We were in Cannes with a film he was in, and he's getting stopped on the street. He gets stopped in the grocery store. If you haven't seen it, it's the first episode in the first season of Spike TV's Deadliest Warrior. And I will never forget, just before it came out, when they were promoting it, and I was in New York. I grew up in New York, and my mother lives here, and we came back in 2016 to live here so I could be, because she's getting older, and our career brought us back. But I was here, and I got out of the subway, and there was a big poster of my husband.
Oh, that's the best.
And I went, oh my God, because they were about to air the episode. It was like the beginning of Deadliest Warrior, and it turned into a huge hit. It ran for 3 or 4 years. So if you get a chance, check out that episode.
I will do that.
So that's my plug.
Okay, now let's talk about you. I done heard enough about him.
All right.
Thanks. Yeah, let's talk about her, man.
So since I started my professional career before we met, I go under Strauss, which is my for my work, Cynthia Strauss. So if you're looking for me, you can look me up under that. And I started acting when I was very young. I started when I was like 9 years old in a theater company in Chicago, and I was on stage all the time. And then I moved to New York. My mother's a visual artist, and she brought me here when I was 12 years old. And I always wanted to be an actor. And so I started working in the entertainment industry when I was 18, like professionally. I worked for a casting director. I wanted to learn the ropes, both sides of the camera. And then I worked for a Broadway producer. And then I said, no, but I really, really want to be an artist. So I went back to acting, but the doors were open to me. I could have done anything. I could have gone into television producing. I could have stayed in casting. Everybody was telling me, don't be an actor. And then I went out to Los Angeles and pounded the pavement, got in the unions. And then I had this agent who told me, go back to New York and get some stage credits. So I came back here, and that was it was a weird twist of fate, because I came back here and I couldn't get an apartment. The hardest thing in New York is housing, as I'm sure you know, Les, And I ended up going to drive my car back here. I picked it up in Los Angeles, and I stopped in Taos, New Mexico.
Very familiar.
And I ended up getting a job on a movie in Taos.
Wow.
And that's how I ended up in New Mexico.
Is that how you met Alan then? Is that how you all met?
We didn't meet for a few years after that. I met him not on that movie, but New Mexico is really where all my dreams came true. It really is. And I started working with New Mexico Women in Film, and I worked with James Lujan from Taos Pueblo. He had the Taos Film Initiative. And films for them. And then I was just getting in like Flynn in a way that never would have happened in New York or Los Angeles for me.
I got one question to ask you.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Robert Maribel?
Of course.
He's one of my best buddies.
Oh, wow. No surprise. Robert's great. He's a good friend of Alan's too.
Oh, really?
Sure. Yeah.
We got something in common, Alan.
I admire Robert. He's talented, and I have his music. So what can I say?
Yeah. Okay.
He's a super nice man too.
Yeah,
he is. Yes, he is.
Good man.
So we have a question. What has been the hardest thing about being an actor?
the downtime between jobs.
Mm. I agree with
Once
that.
you get the job, it's great, but it can be a long stretch. And of course, with COVID, everyone sat around, and then we just got over the strike, which was time well spent, but a lot of things came to a halt. So I'm glad that's over.
And what about for you, Alan?
There's a lot for me. That's a complex question, but
what's top of mind
I just
for
think
you?
for me, not just as an actor, but as a person, I'm always just striving to maintain a balance in my life. And I don't know, to me, that's like a daily struggle. So, I think for me, just having that balance in my life where I can look at everything in a good way and be objective about it,
You need to come to Sweat Lodge, bro.
The Apaches don't sweat. Did you know that? They don't do sweat lodges.
I sweat sometimes.
His tribe doesn't do.
I don't know.
I know.
I think everybody does it different, because we probably did it in teepees or whatever that we had going. I wasn't there.
Well, you have the custas. The custas are.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yeah.
I think probably for me as being an actor is I think typically what has happened is being misidentified as an actor, not being able to play roles that I feel would be more applicable to who I am. As a 61-year-old who is a very youthful energy, it's very hard for me to go for a role as a 61-year-old because that's not what they typically look for in a 61-year-old. And also as somebody of mixed heritage, it's been very difficult to find something that actually doesn't like stereotype you. So this has been the most difficult thing. My first role that I ever played, my first big role was in Law and Order. And I was cast as someone who was Hispanic. She was Dominican, So I think that's one of the things that we talked about before we came to this broadcast is creating a space for yourself to tell your own authentic stories. These are stories that are often missed within the bigger Hollywood production. Those little bitty stories and innuendos that most people don't know about culture, ethnicity, the individual themselves. These are stories that I would say other people who write our stories don't know about us. So sometimes it's best to bring our own voice to the creative table.
I think that's apropos, because they'll send you something to read, and it's all together not you. And it's not that often that somebody will write something that fits you. Am I right?
Well, the thing is that you're supposed to be an actor, so you're supposed to be able to create that character. There have been many people who've been cast in roles, and they might the director or the writer or whoever may have seen the individual in one way, but then when the actor comes in and embodies the role, they've never seen that person do it before. They're like, I'm going to choose that person because a lot of times casting directors don't know what they want. Honestly, they don't know what they want. So you may go in and you do that. So part of you being an actor is putting yourself in a role that is best, a role that has already been created by somebody else. But when I say this, I say it from the perspective of, let's say that somebody who is from India writes a role about somebody who's indigenous in America. They don't know your walk. They don't know your story really, unless they've spent time with your culture. So they'll put you in what I would say a stereotypical role.
Yeah.
But the best shows, the best creative outlets, the best network shows that we've seen like on Netflix or something like that have been written by their artists themselves. So you've had people that have created a space for themselves in Hollywood just by writing their own type of stories. A Sylvester Stallone, a Vin Diesel. These are people that you would never cast in a role because you don't see them or they don't fit a stereotype or archetype. And so therefore they write their own stories, and that's how they become successful.
Well, you know what?
I mean, Alan
Yeah.
and Cynthia could attest to that, I'm sure.
Being a self-producing artist is one of the very best ways to get yourself out there. But
Mhm.
getting it done is huge task. To actually make it happen, produce it, it can take years. I'm working on something right now that I've been with for 15 years. And it was supposed to happen in 2020. We were all ready to go, and boom, COVID.
Yeah.
That hurt a lot of people in the film industry. A lot of people. Like my friend Lou Diamond Phillips.
Uh-huh.
Who would ever think that he was a Native American? But
Right.
he's cast in those roles. He does a good job at it. And I know Lou, you know, and he's crazy. But anyway, that's different.
He just did a movie in Puerto Rico. My friend cast him. My friend Christine Sheets cast him in that film he just did in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Wow.
And they had to halt production during the strike. And, you know, she called me, she said, I don't know what, I mean, it's going to cost us $40,000 to halt production for 3 days. And we're trying to get the interim agreement. I'll tell you about it. They did get it. So they were able to keep filming.
Okay. So Alan, what are you looking to do in the near future?
Well, at this point, it's looking like the next project will be a film entitled Pirate Island. And it's based on kind of, the story itself is based on a ship, I guess would be considered a pirate ship now, the Witta, which went down near Marcona Beach outside of Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And the writer is James O'Brien. We've worked together on Western religion, and luckily for us, it gave Cynthia and I a chance to go to the Cannes Film Festival, or however they say it. It was just kind of a cool experience because I'd never been overseas, so that was my first international trip, and probably the hardest part was just knowing that we had to fly for 14 hours over the ocean.
Oh, that's not such a big deal.
Well, for me it was. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, Pirate Island is coming up. I'll be playing Juan Julian, who's a Mosquito Indian. It's interesting how I've been able to, through Cynthia and myself, find people that live in Belize, and a lot of when the Mosquito Indians were trying to get away from what was going on there, a lot of them went to Belize.
Yeah.
And so I have a personal, he's more like my Papa John. You know, I have somebody to look at and draw some real inspiration from, you know. And then Cynthia's mom had a caretaker, and she was from Belize too. And I was doing research for the script. When they sent me the script, I started doing the research right away, and it was just real interesting that her mom's caretaker from Belize was able to really help me out with that. Like, you know, I kind of had the facts right, but she gave me the examples. I'm excited, and at the same time, I'm kind of like tripping on it too, because, you know, this is the biggest role I have to. Well, I'll be representing another native tribe, the Mosquito Indians, and the thing that I want most is, like, I don't want no acting awards or anything like that, or any like being famous. I just want to be able to do something that those people would accept, would consider acceptable. You know what I mean? Because it really means a lot for me.
Something that they would appreciate.
You know, and I think even just talking about it now is building up a lot of anxiety. But
don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I just want to do this right, though. The best thing is, like, I just want to get it right, the accent right, you know, get everything right. And that's just kind of like, I'm kind of like one of those, like a boxer, because I've been involved in martial arts and combat sports, but you kind of fix yourself on the upcoming fight or the upcoming goal, you know. And I'm not really looking past that. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, this is like the role of a lifetime, and I'm just excited. And I'm like any guy out there that's getting ready for his fight. I know.
I'm excited for you, brother. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see it. Cynthia?
Just so it's verified, Lou Diamond Phillips is actually Filipino
Yeah,
American.
I know that. I know
Yeah,
that.
but has been cast. That's what I was talking about. But he's been cast in indigenous roles. But because
Oh
he
yeah,
looks a
he does
certain
a good
type.
job. He does a good job.
Yeah,
Great
Yeah.
actor.
yeah.
I think he does a great job too. And I know when somebody gets cast in the native role, part of the native community or whatever, they'll be upset about it. But it's like I'm a singer-songwriter, so if I'm making a song, I'm looking for the people that can do justice to the song,
Mm.
and it's the same thing for movies. I'm trying to find those compatible differences between my music world and my acting world right now.
You'll find them. You'll find them. They'll come together. At
But anyway,
the time
sorry,
you least expect it, they're going to come together.
yeah.
So Cynthia, how
Yeah.
about you? What's your next role?
I'm so excited. So I'm not sure you're familiar. You've probably heard of the very famous Sarah Bernhardt. She was French. She was like the original Madonna. She was all flash.
Mm-hmm.
There was an Italian actress who is considered the mother of modern acting, and her name was Eleonora Duse. Have you heard of her?
Mm-hmm.
You have. I'm so
Yeah.
the thing is that not enough people know who she is. So she was known as the mystic in the theater. Yves Le Gallion wrote a book about her called The Mystic in the Theater.
Mm-hmm.
I became fascinated with her many years ago. And it's coming up on the 100-year anniversary of her passing in April of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm involved in a play about her and her very famous rivalry with Sarah Bernhardt. And we are taking it to London in April of 2024 to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of Duse's death. It's
Oh,
big.
wow.
Yeah, it's a big project, and we're scheduled at a fringe theater called the Tabard Theater.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's the there it is. And if you go to Parity, Parity Productions.org into their development section, and then there's a click for duet, and there's all the information about the play.
Okay.
But I have been working on this. We did it in Santa Fe in 2008. That was just after I had met Alan. So that's my next project.
Who are you playing? And you just wrote the play?
No, I did not write the play. The play was written by a playwright who lives in DC named Otto Eskin. He's a former diplomat, Norwegian.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, so he wrote it, and I'm playing Duse.
Good. I know you're going to do it. You're going to do it good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you going to London and presenting it. That is so cool.
Yeah, it came out of we were invited to a theater festival to bring it in 2020 to the We Are Here festival with the So-and-so Arts Club. And that festival got aborted, postponed. And then the festival, unfortunately, is no more. But the woman who had invited us is our colleague in London. And she is one of our producers, and she's playing Sarah Bernhardt. Her name is Sarah Berger. I said, the role has your name on it. Your name is Sarah B-E-R. She just had. So, yeah.
I am so happy. I am so happy for the both of you, And the thing that I'm happy most about is the love that I see and feel between you and Al.
Oh,
I mean, it's written all over both of you, and I can't wait to meet you all in person.
Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. Leslie, go ahead. I hear you thinking.
No, I mean, a lot of people don't know who Sarah Bernhardt is, and if you are an actor, you know about her and everything. But she was renowned in France. I mean, if you've ever read any of Alexandre Dumas's plays, who Alexandre Dumas wrote the Musketeers, and the Comte de Monte Cristo, and all these other things. She was renowned. I highly recommend that our audience go and check out who she was, but also the other character that you are talking about, Eleanor. Please read up on them, because these are fascinating women in history that people don't know about. That had so much. I would say recognition during that time when acting was looked upon as something that was kind of less than. Actors as a whole, initially, it had a very rough start. People who were actors, they were considered to be, I would say, somewhat charlatans. People that worked in the S industry. There is a lot of things attached to being actors, I guess, in the 1800s, and going forward, that it wasn't looked at as a reputable thing. It was looked at as something that they did in canteens and cat houses. So, it has changed a lot. It's changed a
But they
lot.
would always pay for the ticket.
Well, yes, because it was the only form of entertainment. Unfortunately, some of the places that they had to entertain were in cat houses. That's, they put them in stages where there's drinking and, a lot of craziness going on at that time. So, it had a very poor reputation.
In fact, men, during the time of Shakespeare in the Elizabethan era, women were not allowed to perform. It was all men,
Right.
and the men all played the female roles. So there's, the original cross-dressers, right?
Just as true.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Even in Japan, there were men who played women.
Yeah.
Women were not allowed to be on the stage.
Mm-hmm. The kabuki.
And that is so wrong. That is so wrong.
Well, I mean, it was the time, and women were subjugated to certain roles, childbearing and being in the home and stuff like that. It just was the time.
If I may say something here, is like, even with Hollywood and the film world right now, once a woman like hits her 35th or whatever, I mean, they just cut them right out, And when I have these discussions with producers or directors, and some of these people really, like, they're just kind of legends in their own mind. But I always ask them, well, when your mom turned 35 or 40, did she stop being your mom? What about your sister? Or what about your girlfriend or your wife? Did they stop being who they are as women when they were 35? I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous, but I really would like to see women get treated a whole lot better. I mean, like, enough. People, they don't really look at history. They're looking at stuff right now, and they're thinking like, oh man, we started this. It's happening. Our generation is, no. If you go back and look at history, you're going to see like a lot of stuff that's happening now happened a long time ago,
Yeah.
I got one word for it.
I think that comes back to why we're here, and the fireside, and being the oral tradition and telling our stories so that we don't lose them.
I remember when I was a teenager, and my grandmother, my father's mother, and we were out shopping, right? And this guy just stepped in front of her in the food line. She's ready to pay for her food, and she shouted out one word. She said, "You're just bass ackwards."
How'd that go over?
Well, he looked at her. "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you." I said, "Yes, you did. And I'm a grandson. I'm going to take you out."
Jeez.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just the total disrespect for women. I can't deal with that. I mean, I can deal with it, if you know what I'm saying. But it's wrong. It's just totally wrong. Okay, Leslie, go ahead. I know, correct me.
Oh no.
We can't hear you. She's talking, but we can't.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Leslie.
Yeah, sorry. I'm pulling up questions. So, have you faced racism in the industry?
Yes.
Yeah, Alan, you talk about it. I have a situation like that. I wouldn't say it was racism. I would just say they weren't educated. But go ahead, Alan. Tell about your experience, and I want to hear Cynthia's too.
um, I was working on this TV show in near Santa Clarita, and another native that was on there was Sam Bearpaw. He's a good friend, real stand-up guy.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, we were filming and we were all working, you know, as usual on the set. When things finally get rolling, you know, lunch is supposed to be at 2 and it's probably going to happen about 4, right, or 5. So we're all getting ready to eat and we're all getting in line, and you know, it was obvious like these guys are the native crew, you know. And so I started to go to the line, and this I don't know, assistant director or something came out, or someone that is supposed to be someone of capacity came out and like kind of grabbed me by the arm and said, "No, these guys have to eat first." I kind of just looked at her and went, "Well, they said go eat now," you know, so they could jump on our scene first, right? And she insisted, and Sam Bearpaw came in and kind of set the record straight. I was kind of in a catch-22 moment, so I kind of just had to, you know, watch what happened and listen to everything. And it was, you know, the native crew got upset and they walked off. They were done.
So did you get to eat? Did you get to eat that day?
Yeah, we
there.
Sam said we're gonna eat, and so he led the charge, man. So we went in and we munched and got ready for they walked out. We didn't do the next scene. They just walked out, and it was just kind of sad the way the whole thing happened. And you know, you can only try to smooth things over so much, you know. But as time went on, like all I gotta say is when everything was said and done, I really got kind of screwed on that production. So. You know, you learn, you know, you learn as you move along. And this industry is like that, you know. You're gonna encounter some things that they didn't teach you in acting class, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, I've had many others, but that was one that came to mind right away. It was when Sam Bearpaw stood up for me. Thanks, Sam.
How about you, Cynthia?
You know, my first thought was, well, but I have. So there's a little couple things. In that first job I had when I was working for the casting director when I was 18, and I wanted to be an actress, and she said to me, "Oh, well, you're never gonna make it. I mean, how many movie stars do you know that have brown eyes and brown hair? You're too ethnic looking," she said to me. She said, "You know, don't do that."
What?
Yeah. I was like, I was a kid. It was my dream of passion to be an actor. I was there to learn so I could. Anyway, but the irony is she also used to teach me acting instead of paying me. She had been an actress who went into the business end. And I think she had her own resentment about that. And, but since she couldn't pay me, and I was an intern, she would give me acting lessons. So she was the first person to teach me that acting is with real emotion. It's not made up, right? You bring yourself to it. So then travel all the way, many, many years later, I arrive in Hollywood and I start working with an agent, wonderful agent, great office. But she says to me, and I will say this much, this was like 2011. She says, "You know, it's really not a good time to be a white girl in Hollywood." I was like, "What?" She goes, "No, it's all diverse. It's all diversity now, and they have to meet certain quotas and this and that. So you need to go to every pay-to-play workshop to meet every casting director in town. You have to target. So essentially, by the time if I had done her recipe for success, I would have been spending thousands of dollars to get in front of people. Just
when I look at you, I don't see a white girl.
Well, that's not, but that's the point that we were trying to make.
Yeah.
That's the point we were trying to make, is how you are viewed in Hollywood and how they have a archetype or stereotype of
Mhm.
what you're supposed to look like if you're
Yeah.
cast in certain roles.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
we all know each other's ethnic background here, but the point is, by her saying that, is because you are judged in Hollywood by face value and how you're put into a category of being white, black, Asian,
Yeah.
Hispanic, indigenous. So if you don't fit that archetype or that phenotype, you are then put into those categories, even if you are something else. And we had a conversation, which I'm gonna bring it back to that conversation before we did the broadcast tonight about something that we just recently saw. But I want to tell about my story real quickly. I was auditioning for a role, and the casting director said to me, "Can you be a little bit more black?" And I was like, "What does black mean?"
Oh.
And she says, "Well, I need you to be a little bit more like black, like more ghetto."
Oh, come on.
Yeah, she actually said this. This is a very well-known casting director said that to me, and I was like, "Well, I don't know what that means, but if you're saying if you want me to give me a demographic like that, I'm urban, that I live in, I'm a part of a socioeconomic class, specifically that I live in the projects, instead of saying act black, because not all black people act like what you're saying." So
Mhm.
basically, what she was saying is I wasn't acting
Black enough.
what she considered black enough, right? I was a little bit too sophisticated, and everybody that I know that looks like me talks like I do, acts like I do. So I was just really confused, but I was surprised that I was even confronted with that in a setting. Uh, but what we were talking about prior to coming into the broadcast was the fact that we are now seeing um, production shows that are showing authentic truths. And one of the comments, one of the things that we were just recently talked about that we both love, Cynthia and I were both saying, is that we love Lawman Bass Reeves.
Yeah.
We've been watching
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what I was so just completely in awe of is that they told his story authentically. If you know his story, a lot of people don't know that Bass Reeves was actually the real Lone Ranger. However, when Hollywood brought the Lone Ranger story to Hollywood, they changed everything. They made him white. They made him have a stereotypical typical Indian, indigenous next to him, which was Tonto. I
Yeah,
mean, they did a
Jade's
lot of
calling you.
things, right, because that's just the way it was in Hollywood. However, we are now seeing their authentic lawman Bass Reeves, or the authentic Lone Ranger. What I was most surprised about was the fact that his story is that he lived amongst the Choctaw and the Seminole before he became a lawman, and they actually had real Seminole, real Choctaw people playing these roles. And
Mhm.
it was good to see that real authentic Seminole, because the first time when he was caught, the Seminole woman asked him, was he Seminole? And Bass Reeves is a dark skinned man, but people don't know that history between the connection and the intersection between free
Mhm.
Africans who had run away to indigenous people in the Florida swamps, who intermingled with one
Yeah.
another and became the Seminole Nation. And so it
Mhm.
was very well done. It was just, I was just
Mhm.
floored by how well it has been done. And they were actually speaking Choctaw, which I was excited about too when
Mhm.
he came to the Choctaw Nation.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I got friends in Oklahoma, and they produce quite a few movies, Rich Heat Films, and they were trying to put the Bass Reeves story together. And some of the millionaires says, "I'll give you the money, but we don't want his black face." You know, people got these unfounded prejudices. So I asked a friend of mine, I said, "Well, what do I look like to you? You look like Nightwolf."
Yeah, but how can you not have Bass Reeves, a black man, have a black face? That
I
makes
don't
no sense to me.
No.
That's just like them trying to cast Julia Roberts as Harriet Tubman. That actually happened.
That don't work.
I mean, if this is a real life story of an individual who was of a certain ethnic background, then have somebody portray that ethnic background. That looks like that person. I don't know. It's just crazy,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think
Mhm.
we've all faced that.
Yeah.
So, do you have another question before I pull a question from the audience?
No, go right ahead.
All right. Where did that question go? I think it was about indigenous actors. I think it was something like, what do you want to, what kind of content do you want to start seeing for indigenous creatives? Like, what would you like to see? What would you like the future of Hollywood to look like for indigenous creatives?
Alan, why don't you take that one, bro?
Okay. I guess just open the floodgates, man. Let the natives tell their stories,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
let them, each person that's telling the story, let them cast their own films. Give other people that aren't well known, a shot to get in there and share their gift too. I'm not even gonna say show what they got. They
Yeah.
got a gift too. There's other. I want to see other people get cast into more different things, and that's the cool thing. Like Res Dogs, you got all of those kids were not known actors,
Mm-mm.
and they came in and they were given the opportunity to show the gifts that the creator gave to them.
And I'm
And
so
I'm
sorry
hoping
that they canceled that, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I mean, Rolling Stone went gaga over it. They were on what's Jimmy, the guy on
Kimmel.
huh?
Jimmy
Kimmel?
Kimmel.
The funny guy, the former comedian,
Yeah, Jimmy.
and I can't remember, but one of those guys. But I mean, for them to have those kids on all these late night shows, I mean, man, that's a jump from what these were before.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to see different people, have a chance to share, their creativity and their gifts, not just the same ones or the cliquish or whatever. I want to see new people come in.
Can I make a statement here?
Mm-hmm.
You remember, or have you seen the film The Revenant?
Of course.
Leonardo DiCaprio. And you remember that big Indian that pulled that bear off of Leonardo? And Arthur Red Cloud is his name.
Okay.
Yeah. Arthur has actually written a screenplay that's being looked at by 2 major production companies in Canada and some of the production companies out west. And once his movie is produced, he will be the first Native American screenplay writer. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
That's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We need to have an opportunity to step forth and do what we do.
Yeah.
Without anybody trying to cut the corners off,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Leslie, you got your eyes. You were bucking your eyes. What?
No, he's actually not the first.
No,
there's been many. There have been many. Now, I don't know if it's the first screenwriter to actually have something produced by a Hollywood, like a big Hollywood production company. But you've got natives in the screen that are screenwriters right now that are creating stuff. There are plenty that go to Skinfest. That right? They're it's just that they're not very well known, but they exist. They are writing. They're in the rooms right now, the writing rooms right now for television shows and stuff like that. It's just that we don't hear
major motion picture.
Motion picture probably. First, okay.
Yeah. I know there are plenty of screenwriters that are native, but I have yet to see one write a major motion picture produced by the big boys in Hollywood and like these two major companies in Canada. They got their hands all over it, you know.
I hope they don't change it then, because
No,
we know
Mhm.
that once a big studio gets into it, you lose a lot of your rights to your film. So I hope Arthur is aware of that.
Yes, he
Or,
is, you know.
or when the monies come in from different places. I just got
Yeah.
done with a film called Dark Assets, and you can watch that on Prime right now. But it was interesting how even working that film, it's called Dark Assets, but the original title was The City of Crows. That was
Mhm.
7 to 8 years of my life on that ride.
Wow.
And we just watched that thing change from monies to producers to different things, and it all started out as a webisode. So I know what you're saying, and there's a lot of variables that affect everything. That's why sometimes it's hard for me to answer questions in a general way, because my mind just starts, remembering all these things or whatever. But
Yeah, and you got
yeah,
a lot of crooks in the industry.
yeah, I mean, gosh,
Yeah.
talk about getting ripped off. I've been ripped off music. I've been ripped off
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. But man, it can really be a cutthroat business. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard for me to just answer something because it's not so general,
Mm. I did an interview about two or 3 years ago with there's an event that I go to here in New York City, which I would like to invite you all to next year. It's called the Urban Action Showcase. Especially you, Alan, who is into martial arts. I am also into martial arts. I'm Wing Chun and Tai Chi,
Oh my
and
goodness.
this is an event for people of color who are in action films, or people who are of ethnic backgrounds who are in action films, who produce, direct. I mean, it's very well connected. I'll send you all the address after the show. But
I want to go. I want to go.
you can come. You can come if you can make it up here. It's like a two or three a weekend. It is. This event has been put on by Demetrius Angelo for some
Oh,
years now.
okay.
And Demetrius, I think he follows he follows you, Elder Nightwolf, but it's grown successfully in these years. The event itself takes place in these 2 days where they show films with action heroes. They celebrate monumental anniversaries of certain types of films, and they have people who are actors, producers, directors come. They do panels and such.
Mhm.
So when during COVID, we had to do one virtually, and I actually got to interview Fred the Hammer Williamson. Now, if you don't know who Fred the Hammer Williamson, he's been in Dead, uh, not well, I can't think of the name of it right now. He's been in other films like big. He's known as like black exploitation royalty. I interviewed him and Mario Van Peebles.
Mhm.
And Fred the Hammer
Yeah.
Williamson said to me, yes, what he may be known for is Dust to Dawn. Dust to Dawn is one of my favorite films, so a lot of people may know him
Mine
in that
too.
film.
Mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that film. And anyway, he said to me, he who counts the money first counts the money last. And he gave me some very important advice. And this is what he said. He said that he never sold any of his movies to bigger Hollywood production studios. What he did is that he said, I am going to direct, produce, do everything my own self and make my own money because I'm going to count the money first and I'm going to count the money last. Because what happens a lot of times is when you give your money over to big production houses, you may see that money, but you'll never see it at the end. You're loaned out for
Mhm.
so many things, and you end up paying these studios at the end of it, as opposed to actually gaining any money as a result of it, because they provide everything for you and they put it on loan to you, so you're paying it. But he said to me, what he did was he went to Cannes and he looked at how people invest in films in Cannes. He went there, he got a ticket, and then the next year he came back and he promoted his first film. And what he did, he had nothing set up. He had no money for the film. He had nothing. All he had was a poster board of the film and an idea. And he told everybody he had done the script and everything. And these European people came and said, hey, I'll invest $500,000 in that film. I'll invest this amount of money. And that's how he got his film. That's how he got his film produced. Now, the film was a blaxploitation film. You have a former NFL star who was on Julia on TV, a TV star. You know, he had the actor, he had everything. He got actors and stuff like that. They did everything on a budget. And at the end of it, he made more money than what was invested in the money, and people made their return cash back. Those invested in it. So he told me it is best to produce, direct, do everything yourself. He said, however, you don't get the notoriety if you put your name on everything. So he even has his dog as the executive producer. Yes, his dog's name is executive. He's not listed as the director. He made up some name. He said it's some guy from high school. He created everything, and he has done his films this way from the beginning. And he always reaps the reward at the end because he counted the money first, so he counted the money last.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're coming to the close of this, the broadcast. And
Can I just say one thing, Jay?
sure, you can say two things.
I want to just mention in discussing the road for Indigenous creatives, you know, I just want to talk about Killers of the Flower Moon, which is,
Oh my God, I love that. Yes.
yeah. And this, I'd really love to hear your thoughts about the film, because I think that we are going to see the Native women who were in that film get some nods from the Oscars, some Oscar nods. And I think that was one of the intentions of Scorsese and DiCaprio, was to bring forward this story. But I thought the film was really interesting. There was only one problem I have with it, which is it focused so much on the white male corruption. And it was very long. And I thought it could have been, if they had, I don't know what happened in the editing room, but they needed more, you know, natives, like, please, you know, can it's so much more powerful to tell your own stories than to have someone who thinks they can tell the story who's not native or whatever your ethnicity is.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
And this might blow you away. J. Edgar Hoover was not white. He hid his identity. J. Edgar Hoover was actually black.
Yes, he was. He was mixed race. But
And
a
he
lot
had
of
a
people don't know
problem
that.
with people like Dr. King. I mean, you know,
I think his great grandfather was black.
when you all come down here, I live about 10 minutes from the house that he used to live in. And I got to show you that. I want you to come down here so I can show you all around.
I want to go.
Thank you.
I want to address Cynthia's comment. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know this is a Scorsese film because Scorsese takes a long time to tell a story. That is typically what he does. I think that he told it from the perspective of the white corruption, because so many people don't know that was the underlying factor about anything that happened in Tulsa, Black Wall Street, everything.
Yeah.
And we don't really know. I mean, I heard that they mentioned in the film, this is the same thing that happened in Tulsa. And they were talking specifically about Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
I think you're right about this. I think that they really needed to dive into what happened, why people were living on that land, what was the past, give more insight on that than telling from the white corruption. We know about white corruption. We see white corruption every day, but we do need to see a more impactful, insightful, what was the residual effect of this as a result, and not necessarily what ended up happening in the creation of the FBI. So I agree with you totally. It might have been better if it was told. I know that he brought Indigenous people in to give insight, but it would have been better if he had basically passed the mantle or shared the mantle with somebody who said, I feel like you need to really focus on this particular aspect of this part in history. So I agree with you totally on that.
Yeah, me too. I didn't mean to pop somebody's bubble, but I had to tell it like it is.
Yeah.
So we can have private conversations about Jericho Hoover being a cross-dresser.
Okay. Let's go on, because that's a whole nother show.
Okay.
We definitely want to wrap up because we're about 2 minutes over.
Okay.
We want to get some last minute comments from you all before we check out for the holiday, and that's about it. So let's get some some last minute comments from both of you all, just about the industry, anything that you want our audience members to know before we go on holiday. Once again, just basically plug any work that you're about to do so that people know, and I'll try to put that in post as well so people can follow you on IMDb or any of your social media.
Let's start with Cynthia.
Yeah.
Ladies first.
Yes.
Well, look for the play Duet as a commemoration for the 100-year anniversary of the passing of Eleanor Duse in London at the Tabard Theatre in Chiswick in April 2024. It's opening April 21st through May 11th. And for further information, check me out on Facebook. It'll be all over my page. And happy holidays. I think 2024 is going to be an amazing year.
Absolutely. I'm going to hit the lottery. Alan?
Well, happy holidays to everyone that's watching. And thank you, Mr. J, for bringing us on the show. And thank
Why
you, Les.
you calling me Mr. J, bro?
Mr. J. Sign of respect, man.
I know.
But yeah, thank you for bringing us on the show, and happy holidays to everyone. You can watch Dark Assets on
Apple TV and Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and the next one is going to be Pirate Island, and
I can't wait. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah,
are you wearing a hook?
Not yet.
You know where pirates get their hooks from?
No.
The secondhand store.
Oh, that's too good.
We'll leave it on the high note.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Oh my gosh.
Okay, Leslie, go.
I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday. All of our audience members. I'm looking forward to connecting with everybody in 2024. Thank you so much, Alan and Cynthia. I cannot wait to connect with you all in person here in the East Coast. I'm looking forward to that. And I just want to, as I always say, please educate yourself. There is no reason why you should not educate yourself about the truth. You have information at hand on your phone, on your computer. Look and do your research. Don't always go by what someone tells you, but do your own research. And knowledge is power.
Yes.
And knowledge brings you awareness. It brings you connectivity to communities. So please continue to study until we come back on January 17th. And that's it. Happy holidays to everyone.
Yes.
Okay. I want to close with this statement. When I was a little boy, some of us would go down to South Carolina where my Cherokee people are and sit and talk to my grandfather. My grandfather built this table around this big oak tree. And he would ask us all a question. Do you boys know what it's all about? And then we would sit there and look at each other. And Mikey, my cousin, the youngest one, he says, "No, Grandpa, can you tell us what it's all about?" He said, "I'll tell you." He said, one of the things that you need to learn is it's not about your ethnicity. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about the color of your eyes. It's not about the texture of your hair. He said, "Do you really want to know what it's all about?" "Yes, Grandpa." He said, "It's how you treat my heart." He said, "You will find closer family members and closer friends out of people that know how to treat your heart correctly." So that's how I've always tried to live. You know, I don't like to judge people. If you get me wrong, then you got a problem. But I will tell you this. I love all of you, even those of you that make it impossible to love. I love you in spite of yourselves. So I'll close out in the words of Cherokee. Danada, Goai, Wado. And Wado in Cherokee means thank you. I love you all of you. Talk to you after we come back from hiatus on the 17th of January. Be there. Thank you.